In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, it looks like Paul is shifting gears a little bit from his sort of writing in the previous chapters. He starts talking about Israel's history. He says, I don't want you to forget, dear brothers and sisters, about our ancestors in the wilderness long ago. All of them were guided by a cloud that moved ahead of them, and all of them walked through the sea on dry ground. And as you read through this for yourself, you'll see that he's saying that so many of these things that we read about in the Old Testament are warnings for us. You know, how they worshipped idols, how they were engaging in sexual immorality, which Paul already covered in the letter. All these different things, and so he's saying all of these examples are examples for us today. So he says in verse 12, if you think you're standing strong, be careful not to fall. The temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, and God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand, and when you're tempted, he will show you a way out so that you can endure. And so Paul, he talks a little bit more about sort of idolatry and some of those lessons from the Old Testament. And then in blue here, it looks like he's a little bit sort of coming back to something he was talking about in a previous chapter. He says, what am I trying to say? Am I saying that food offered to idols has some significance, or that idols are real gods? Remember that issue from chapter 8. And he's saying, no, not at all. He says, you say, if you remember what he said earlier about the issue, he says that those idols are nothing, but conscience is important. And if someone considers them to be a problem because of their weak conscience, we should love them and not indulge in that. So he says this in verse 23. You say, I am allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. You say, I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. So he says in verse 24, don't be concerned for your own good, but for the good of others. And that's kind of the principle, right? Sort of the golden rule there, in a sense. And so he's saying we should love our neighbors. We should love other brothers and sisters in Christ. And we shouldn't allow our freedom, like having a beer or a glass of wine if someone is as a recovering alcoholic. We shouldn't allow our freedom to be the ultimate thing, but rather our love for other people to be the ultimate thing. And he says down here at the bottom to sort of sum that up. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it all for the glory of God. Don't give offense to Jews or Gentiles or the church of God. He says, I too try to please everyone in everything I do. I don't just do what is best for me. I do what is best for others so that many may be saved. It's kind of like Matthew 22 when Jesus said, love God, love your neighbor as yourself. You notice yourself comes last. And so he's saying, listen, I love God. I do it all for the glory of God. And everything I do then, I want to please God. And then I also want to do what's best for others, even before I do what's best for me. What a great principle. What a great chapter. So why don't you read 1 Corinthians chapter 10 for yourself now and get some more out of it.